Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Nigel, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about 3 tips for editing in Adobe Premiere. So I've been using Adobe Premiere for like 10 years now, and I've tried other editing programs and I just haven't really gotten the hang of any of them yet. So that's why I still use Adobe Premiere. I used CS6 for the longest time, and now I'm obviously on the Creative Cloud. There are a lot of things that I just got into a habit of doing that I really probably could have saved a lot of time if I learned how to do a better version of what I was doing. And so in today's video, I just kind of wanted to show you these 3 tips on things that I wish I had known a lot earlier when I started editing with Adobe Premiere. So this first tip is going to have to do with music in your videos. Now, I use music a lot in my videos. I just like setting a certain tone with the music that I'm using, but a lot of the times when I'm doing these talking portions of my videos, I like to have music in the background as well. And a lot of the times the music can kind of be distracting, especially if all you're doing is turning the volume down on your music track. So what I've started to do instead was use a simple parametric equalizer to kind of get the harshness of the music, not only turn the volume down, but also kind of give it a dull, muted sound when I'm talking so that the music doesn't overpower my voice. Now, you can do this really easily. All you have to do is go into your effects tab and drag and drop a simple parametric equalizer to your music track. So here are the settings that I use, and these will help kind of dim down the sounds of your music to where it's not necessarily making the volume a whole lot lower, but it's just kind of gonna take away the harshness of the music so that you're not only lowering the volume, but you're also kind of getting rid of some of the frequencies that kind of interfere with your voice a lot. So what I use is I put the center at 1148.4 Hertz, and then I change the Q to 4.0 and the boost to -18 dB. And that's what I use to put on my music tracks, and that just kind of helps the music from sounding like this instead of sounding like this, whereas you can barely hear what I'm saying because the music is just kind of overpowering what I'm talking about. And so once you do that in Adobe Premiere, you can just right click and save the preset and then just name it whatever you want, so that whenever you're working on a project, you can just take that, drag and drop it onto your music track wherever there's talking, and it'll just save you a lot of time. So instead of trying to like mess with it each time, mess with the volume, mess with different, EQ settings, you can just make a preset, drag and drop, super easy. So yeah, that's my first tip, how to take the volume from your music track down without having it so low to where you can barely even hear the music. So tip number 2 is something that has to do with color grading. And before the updates started rolling out for the Creative Cloud version of Premiere, I kind of had a hard time achieving this in my color grading because it just wasn't as easy as it is now. But now with the updates and the fact that you can use curves in the Lumetri Color tab of Adobe Premiere just makes this color grading trick so much easier. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but I thought that it would be good to just do a little refresher to anyone who hasn't heard it yet. And what I like to do with a lot of my color grading is take the saturation from the shadows and sometimes even from the highlights and bring them all the way down to where there's no saturation in my shadows, so the blacks are actually black. And to me, that just gives it a little bit more of a cinematic feel. So when I'm doing my color grading, I always make sure to take the saturation, especially in the shadows, all the way down. So let's go over how you do that. It's actually really simple. So you go to your color tab, go to curves, and then go to Luma versus Sat, and then Sat versus Sat. What I do is I make keyframes on the first and last vertical line of the grid, and then I pull down the shadows and sometimes the highlights on both. And what that's gonna do is, again, it'll take the saturation out of your shadows, and if you want to, out of your highlights as well. So that's just one really quick and easy color grading tip that I have. Before the curves were in the Lumetri Color effect, it was really hard to create that using Adobe Premiere. I actually had to bring my clips into DaVinci Resolve and do it that way because DaVinci Resolve is just a much better color grading program anyways. But now that it's in Premiere, it's just so much easier to just do that in my color grading so I can keep it all in Premiere, which is really nice. So this next tip is something that I really wish I learned how to do earlier. Honestly, this is definitely one that, like, if you don't know how to do it yet, you're really gonna enjoy this tip because it's saved me so much time. Now, something that a lot of you may not know about me is that I actually used to have a really bad speech impediment when I was younger. and I stuttered a lot. And I stutter a lot now too, and making YouTube videos, that's kind of difficult because every time I stutter, I have to make a cut and then, you know, try to piece together a video out of this, you know, huge long video file of me stuttering multiple times. And so obviously I don't want to make transitions or, you know, have to put B-roll over every single part where I stutter and have to cut a video. And so what I do, like what everybody does, is I create an audio transition so that there isn't a lot of really harsh pops in my audio whenever I'm making these cuts. And sometimes having a nice audio transition in your video can even trick your mind into think that there wasn't that harsh of a cut even when there was. So a lot of the times my videos would sound like this, and it wouldn't actually sound that great because there's like this harsh cut in the audio. And so what I had to do is I'd have to go to my audio transitions, take constant power, and I would take that and drop it on each individual clip to make an audio transition between each of them. And honestly, when you're working with like 50 cuts in a video or something like that, that can be really time consuming. And so there's actually a way to add audio transitions on every single one of your audio tracks instantaneously, and you don't have to drag and drop constant power onto every single clip like I was doing. And if you already know this and you think, wow, Nigel, you used to drop constant power on every single clip. Yes, I did, and that's what I'm saying. I wish I had known this tip a long time ago. But if you don't know how to do it yet, this is gonna save you a lot of time, so let me show you how. So what you wanna do is, in Adobe Premiere, go to Preferences, and then go down to Timeline. And where it says Audio Transition Default Duration, change it to 2 frames. And I think it's default set on like 5 seconds. Change it to 2 frames instead of seconds. Next, all you have to do is select all of your clips that you want to add a transition to, and on your keyboard, click Control-Shift-D, and that will instantly add a 2-frame audio transition between every single clip in your timeline that you selected. And gosh, that helped me so much because I was doing that anyways, and it just didn't ever occur to me that I could probably look up how to do that audio transition way quicker and easier as opposed to just dragging and dropping a constant power audio transition onto every single one of my audio clips. And again, if you're like I've been using Adobe Premiere for 10 years now. That kind of seems like a pretty simple thing to learn straight off the bat, but I honestly didn't know it. So if you're a Premiere veteran laughing at me right now, I totally get it. I should have learned it a long time ago, but again, that is just something that helped me so much because I was doing that anyways and it was taking a long time and it's kind of finicky, but now I can just select all the clips that I want to, add a transition to, Control-Shift-D, boom, and I got an audio transition on every single one of my clips. And again, having that little tiny audio transition can really smooth out your video even when there's a lot of cuts like there is in mine. Again, I stutter and stumble through these videos a lot, and just having a little bit of an audio transition to smoothen that out really helps a lot. So yeah, those are my top 3 tips for Adobe Premiere editors. I really hope that at least one of those was helpful to you. And if it was, it'd be really cool if you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content. As always, there's a bunch of links to gear that I use and recommend in the description below, as well as a link to my Patreon if you want to join me there. But yeah, I'll have videos and playlists right here as always. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Later.